So I wanted to make a little bit of an update video of what's been going on the MMO world. It's been a while, and a lot's happened actually over the last few months, but I haven't wanted to put up a video of sort of the combat or the moves I've been making, just because I didn't want to tip off my neighbors or rivals in the MMO world. So one thing I have been doing is trying to push into all the different shards. There's really interesting opportunities in the market between energy, power, commodities, and tier 3 boosts. And because of that, I've been trying to get it set up in such a way that I have access to the primary markets, those being shard 1, 2, and 3, and have code to move resources between those markets. So one thing I've wanted to do, and this is also for pixels as well, I wanted a way to be able to reallocate CPU to the lowest ticking shard. So whatever shard has the quickest tick times, I wanted to be able to deploy in that shard the majority of my CPU. So right now I have only about 146 of my CPU used, which allows me to have about 150 going into pixel production per tick. So here, to make this work, I had to have a permanent room to maintain my code's execution on shard 1, which also required me to then portal hop into shard 1. And I tried this 3 times before I was able to successfully do it. First 2 times I was killed by Like a Fox and by Tung Dino. And this third time I picked a more secluded area over near some allies in the Ace Alliance. And it wasn't too long before I was attacked by Geir earlier this week. And that's been interesting. He fought me pretty hard for a few days. He initially attacked my room, and I'll do the replay footage next. And then he set up patrols to kill off any settlers that I had coming through this room, to this room from Shard 2. So let's go over to the replay. And this is a little bit before he began his attacks. I'll tick this along a little bit faster. But I had creeps moving in from Shard 2 to sort of refill these upgraders and these because I needed to get a second spawn online so I'd have additional spawn time to be able to really defend this room. Another thing you get at RCL7 is a third tower. So, those small little changes would be huge benefits in trying to defend this room. But let's tick ahead here for a little bit. And we'll see what actually saved me. Let's go a little bit further. That was about an hour and a half jump, a little bit more than that. Looks like we still haven't had the attack. I'll know that there was an attack because of a safe mode trigger. Okay, so it happened in those hours there. Let's tick back a little bit and we can actually watch the attack. See if there was any other fighting before that. It doesn't look like there was, but so we had a few hours from where I started the replay to now. So local time for me, this was 10:49 a.m. And I have an automated response to take care of this initially and give me enough time to deal with it. But let's let this keep ticking. It looked like they came from this side here. Just a couple of ranged attackers. It looks like they were boosted as well. 11:08. So this is like 15 minutes of execution time here. Just a little bit of upgrading. It looks like I was mining from the adjacent room here. Don't want to miss the initial breach here, so I can just get a look at what the creep layout was. Here we go. So we have a squad formation here, fully boosted, ranged with heal and move. This is a pretty devastating squad, especially for an RCL 6 room. But this should have been an easy fight, one where he'd be able to just sort of steamroll this room here. But looks like he had some code issues, or he was working on this live. And there's a little break there, and he lost a creep. So he's got good heals now. He gets the formation tight so that they can all heal each other, doing the maximum heal. So you do only a third of the healing power with a ranged heal. If you're adjacent, so range 1, it does a full 12 per part. Let's see what happened there. So I have an auto safe mode set up, and you can actually get a safe mode on every shard. So that's something really interesting. But because I have technically 3 code bases, shard 1, shard 2, and shard 3, I have multiple opportunities to have rooms in safe mode prevented without the possibility of attack. When safe mode's activated, you can't, as a hostile creep, you can't do any actions. That includes attack, and heal and withdraw. I believe transfer is another one. Because of that, he can't actually heal his creeps. So it looks like these towers are attacking this one here, and as you can see, they were actually able to kill that one because these creeps can't heal, and neither can the creep itself. So as soon as he got into range 3, I believe, it looks like he destroyed one extension, but as soon as he got into range of an unprotected structure, my safe mode triggered. So what I have is a very simple script to see if there's an enemy creep in range 3 of what I consider a vital structure. There's things like towers, extensions, terminal, storage, and spawn, labs as well. Those things will all trigger a safe mode. And one thing I might change about this is change it so that extensions can be placed outside the walls. But if the extensions are under threat and the number of remaining extensions doesn't allow me to spawn adequate defensive creeps, it should trigger that safe mode. So that's a little bit of logic you work out in your scripts if you wanted to improve your active defense. So here we go. We got 20,000 ticks to defend now. On shard 1 at the time, I believe it was about 4 seconds per tick. So about 80,000 seconds, which is almost a full day of reaction time I got. So, just kept letting the settlers come from shard 2 and build up this room. Let's skip ahead a little ways. I did make some modifications. I think I was online for a bit here, and I was able to take off this remote room and bump up the amount of resources I was buying off the market. Market's your friend. You have access to just about everything there. I started buying up some defensive boosts and some lab compounds that would help with upgrading, make it a little bit faster. But I believe I was able to get this room up to RCL 7 pretty quickly. It only took about 4,000 ticks, so I still had plenty left over. And then I just shifted all those upgrader units to building these walls. So I'll just show that animation a little bit. But lots of different units here coordinating, keeping these spawns spawning as almost as frequently as they could. It looks like there's a little bit of inefficiency in my code. In this case, where the room was under threat and DEFCON was activated, I should have had it mass produce units as quickly as possible. So just do some simple checks. As long as there's a way to fill the extensions and a way to, well, as long as the vital creeps in the room are available, it should have continued to spawn new creeps. So you can see it sort of slowly working to build out these walls. I'm going to skip ahead to sort of the end of safe mode. and we can get a read on the level that these walls were at when I lost that safe mode protection. Let's back it up a little bit further. So there we go, 200 ticks to go, and I was able to get most of these walls to about 3 million. Had multiple wall upgrade units and consistent sort of trio of units upgrading my controller just to keep this moving. And you'll see here in just a little bit Geir's new attack on the walls. So another thing I was doing, see these guys here, it's more efficient to have, so with work parts, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have the unit move back and forth between storage. So either move your storage itself to near the controller or have some sort of unit to bring resources, which is entirely composed of carry and move. This is way more efficient because those work parts are able to be active on more ticks in this configuration where they don't have to move back and forth. And same thing, carry parts and move parts are most effectively utilized when they're moving every tick. So let's just keep going through this battle replay. So 20 ticks to go. And these filler units are able to help with the Mason wall upgraders or with the upgraders here to sort of supplement the effectiveness of the links and their throughput for upgrading the controller. We don't have the attacker yet. There we go. So on second wave here, he's changed up his strategy, just sending these smaller squads, 2-unit configuration. We have 3 catalyzed tough parts, which reduces the amount of incoming damage from towers, things like that. But a few things I've done to beef up this defense since he first attacked the room basically defenseless was got my 3rd tower from RCL7, and I did this change a long time ago when I was fighting Tiga, but the tower can be refilled by the farmer unit directly, which cuts out the middleman, and no unit has to come over here to refill that tower. It makes 3,000 energy per 300 ticks, so it's a perfect 10 energy per tick. So that tower could actually fire every tick with the energy from that energy source. So what this creep will do is it will prioritize the tower over the link when transferring the energy out. Other things I've done, these wall upgraders will continue to spawn until the room reaches a threshold, or I remove a manual override for the minimum number of creeps that need to be spawned in the room. So let's see what happens when he reaches the wall. And there we go. So right now the wall upgraders are still targeting their old target, but when they see that this wall is now the lowest in the room, they will shift their focus over to it. And as you can see, they're able to more or less maintain that wall's hit points, even with an attacker, long enough for my active defense to spawn. So this active defense, nothing too crazy here, but 32 range attack parts. So 32 times 40 because they're boosted. Let me get a calculator out here. So 32 times 40 is 1280 damage plus the damage from the towers, which isn't going to be as much because of the range. But this unit right here has, what is it, 7 and then 9 on that row, so 16 plus 20, so 36. 36 times 48 is the total heal. So I need to do more than that amount of damage every tick to be able to take this attacker down. So 1200 here plus the towers is pretty effective. The other thing is this has a ranged mass attack. So at range 1, it will do damage of 10 to this initial creep. because that's all range 1. And then range 2, it will do damage of 4. And because it's able to attack both of these units, it's pretty effective because the healer can only heal itself or the other unit. So a few ticks later, I'm able to kill that healer, and as soon as that healer's gone, there's nothing to repair the other creep as well, and they're both taken out. So, simple active defense here. All I'm doing is checking if there's enemies in the room, and if one of their parts is boosted, and it's one of the parts. So a couple checks. Enemies in the room, are they using boosts? If they're not using boosts, I'm not going to spawn a boosted defender. I'm just going to spawn a regular defender. And then the last check is to make sure the parts are actually a threat. So the only parts on an enemy creep that are threatening are going to be ranged attack, or work. If they're not using one of those 3 types, if it's just a healer, all they're trying to do is tower drain you. So don't even fire your towers at those guys. Wait till the creeps come in a little bit into the room where you can do enough damage that they wouldn't be able to flee and heal up. So here you can see a new squad. My militia unit has a very simple targeting code. All it does is, the spawn code checks to see if those 3 conditions, enemies in the room, hostile parts, and is it boosted, and that determines the type of response. And then this unit's code is pretty simple. It just says, what's the closest rampart structure to the enemy creeps? And in this case, it was down here. But with this new assault, it shifts targets, and it's going to move up top here. So one thing about this using the melee attack is that it can't attack over the rampart or the walls. It's a range of 1. So all of these squares behind my ramparts here are safe, which means that he's going to have to actually push through this before he's able to kill this unit, which makes it really easy to move these guys around and deal with the different attacks. So you can see here, he's having to bounce off that wall or he's going to lose that squad. It looks like he's using multiple squads, but this defender is able to do a pretty good amount of damage, enough to take out one of these squads and make them less effective. And then I believe you're going to see a second unit spawn here in just a bit. Yep. So my code responds to the number of enemy creeps in the room. If there's multiple enemies, or if it can't kill the enemy, and it needs more damage. And there's some calculations I do to see if the amount of damage that's required to actually kill that unit. And until it gets over that threshold, it will keep spawning units. Other things it will check though is it more effective to kill the units with, repair the units than to actually try to kill them directly. So you can see here, I got 2 defenders on the wall now. This one was doing like 1280. The other unit has 32 parts of 120 damage plus 1280. That's 5100 damage plus the towers, so maybe 6000 damage to this creep. This doesn't stand a chance against 6000 damage. So what this does is it's just calculus, right? If in this case the attacker is having to spawn multiple healers to heal a single attacking creep on the front line, and the attacking creep has to have enough tough parts to actually be able to tank the damage. And because of that, they're having to do this trade-off between tough parts and melee parts, which are the part that's actually attacking the wall. So the ratios keep switching, and it becomes less and less efficient to attack a wall section when you're able to field multiple defenders. So it shifts the calculus in the favor of the defender, because I can prevent a squad of 3 to 4 units from being effective with 2 defenders of my own, and he's having to move into my room, suffering a tick to live penalty, because when his squads even arrive, let's see here, this squad only has 600 ticks to live, while my squad is going to spawn with 1500. So I can essentially fight off 2 of his squads before my creep dies of old age, while he's having to spawn multiple sets of replacement squads to deal with to keep up the assault. And the amount of damage he's doing to this wall is basically null. So you can see that he's able to field multiple creeps, but my wall repairers are easily able to repair the damage he's doing to my walls. So this shifts the calculus in favor of the defender in multiple ways. One thing I do have to improve with my code here, I'm looking at this, but it's just a determination of what's hostile, and it goes back to those 3 checks to whether or not you need to spawn a defender. But in this case, I need to only worry about the ones that can actually do damage. So this can't do anything. So these need to reset to go over here and then go over here and deal with the other squads that are attacking. So I don't know how long this battle went for. Let's keep watching a little bit. I'm going to skip ahead. Yeah, so here we got multiple attackers, and our squad is going to redeploy over there. Looks like this one died of old age. Yep. There we go. It just reaches the wall, attacks a few times, and that squad's dead. So not a lot of options. He either has to reposition constantly as my defenders follow, losing time to live as he's making those adjustments, or he's going to lose that squad. So let's skip ahead a few hundred more ticks. Yep. So we got another squad down here. Attacking a different position. These creeps are stuck here because they see this creep that's closer, so they're not going to reposition. But the wall repairers do an excellent job of dealing with the amount of damage done here. They almost hold it at 1-to-1. At times it's increasing, at times it's decreasing, but there's enough hit points here that he's not going to be able to break through. Some other calculus, like what level of walls do you actually need to have? So say he has 1,000 ticks to live, which is a little more generous than what he actually had. He has, for instance, 30 parts is a pretty typical wall attacker. Your calculus changes a little bit because you might be able to field 20 attack parts on a well equipped tough part attacker. But let's use 30 for the example. So 30 and then times that by 120 damage. So a single attacker creep is able to do 3.6 million damage to a wall. But here's the thing. A repair does 100 hit points per repair. So that, and let's say because it's behind the wall, it doesn't have to have tough and things like that because it's range 3. We can divide this by the number of parts we can put on a creep. So if you had a regular creep, it's probably gonna the configuration I like is 20 parts. So 1,800. Let's see what this calculation is. Let's do this instead. 3.6 million divided by 1,000 ticks, right? This is the number of hit points you'd have to repair per tick. Divide that by 100. That's the number of work parts you need to be able to field to offset the damage from that squad. So 36 parts. That's of these types, that's only 2 wall upgraders to offset the damage of a single attacking creep. And the other thing is, if you have the active defense, he's going to have multiple healing units. So, all these things, it becomes much more costly to attack a room than to defend a room. As long as you have access to the market, you can usually buy what you need. If you have allies, you can use your Safemode to give you enough breathing room to actually get the upper hand in a long-term fight. So there's different things you can do. But as a new player, some of the basics you should have are walls that can have enough hit points to give you some time to spawn defenders, and you should also have some basic active defense in place to deal with high level threats, and some code to automatically trigger safe mode if you have a breach in your walls. If you have multiple rooms, you might want to look at a system to determine what's the most important room. or what's the most vulnerable room, and make that one have a priority safe mode where the safe mode will be reserved for that room. So different things to consider with the defense. Um, One thing about Screeps is the defender usually has an advantage. Um, the only way to break some of these more fortified rooms is a long-term siege, and that becomes economic warfare, not necessarily how much military might you can throw at your enemy. And it becomes a lot more complicated. You're looking at empire-wide sieges, harassment of the remote harvesters, things like that, and it becomes very hard to do, except for the largest of alliances, especially if you've taken some time to spread out your empire. I don't think there's a single entity in the world of Screeps right now that has enough reach to be able to destroy all of my rooms. My rooms on Shard 2, for instance, span from about west 20 all the way to east 30. So it's a 50 room wide section where my rooms are spread out. And that's just on one shard. On Shard 3, I have the same spread from north 23 all the way down to south 15. So about 40 room spread on Shard 3, and then I have this room on Shard 1. So you're looking at like a very distributed empire where it's very hard to deal with all of my rooms. You'd have to have multiple players attacking me, and as soon as it becomes a multiplayer affair, you still then have to deal with my alliance. And typically we don't do alliance intervention for a single player attacking another player. See, that's a border skirmish, but if you get to a point where you have 6 or 7 players attacking a single one, it's not really fair. And then you become justified in stepping in as an alliance. And when alliances fight, some really interesting things happen in the market and in the world. Anyway, this has been a sort of an analysis and like a walkthrough of sort of my defensive strategy and some of the things you need to consider as a new player in Screeps or as a more advanced player that's looking at how to improve the survivability and durability of your empire and code base. So, hopefully some of these ideas are helpful to you. If they are, leave a like or comment down below. Really appreciate the subscriptions and feedback on these videos and on the different things I'm trying to do with the Screeps world. Check out the website, screepsworld.com, and if you're new to the game, you might want to try Sandbox. It's one of the community servers that's now listed on the official server list. We haven't had a lot of resets. They haven't really been intentional, but if you follow along with some of my other guides, it's very easy to implement Screeps Grunt and transfer your code base over into the server in such a way that it's not going to get deleted or reset, and you always have a backup. So you can just sort of play test and develop your code base before you feel like you want to deploy to MMO where it's a little bit more cutthroat. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.